Okay, so we're getting into the 2026 primary elections for Texas. That's coming up March 3rd, with early voting kicking off in February. This is going to be like February 17th. Now, on the ballot are many statewide seats, including governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and many, many more. We're actually going to be talking in over the next few weeks to multiple different candidates for multiple different seats. And tonight we're talking to Charles Crouch. He is running for governor, and I'm going to pull him up now. But Charles, I think your camera is still off because right now we just see your name. Oh, I think there you are. Hey, how are you doing? Good
All right,
evening.
here I am. We are pulled over on the side of the road. We're traveling through Texas right now, so I hope you can see me.
It's a little dark, but you know what? I'll take it. I'm just excited to talk to you and pick your brain about your campaign and what all you're running on. So, first of all, let's just get right to it. Why are you running for governor?
I'm running for governor because I got the unction, and a little bit of time of prayer. I'm looking at a lot of different issues happening in Texas. One specifically is this issue with Islam and a lot of Muslims communities in Texas. And it's a serious issue, but I kind of have to laugh before the Lord because when I was in Iraq fighting for this country 20 years ago, I learned the language of Arabic, and I've lost buddies on the battlefield. And when I came back to the United States and reintegrated into America, I had a lot of great things on my resume. I was an ex-Navy SEAL. I was fluent in the language of Arabic. I was a sniper. I was demolition, had all these inapplicable job skills, and I lost a lot of jobs. I probably lost dozens of job interviews, and a lot of the guys would say, "Hey, look, you're a great candidate, but you just don't fit." I had one guy tell me, this is 15 years ago. He said, "You're just not normal." And I said to him, "Well, let's go on the battlefield with bullets flying and let's see who's normal." But here we are 20 years later in Texas, and I believe I am the most applicable candidate for this job. We have a problem here in Texas with minority communities coming in, and it's an issue for the voters, and it's a very energetic issue for the voters. And I think I'm the man for the job. This is what I did 20 years ago, because in these minorities, there are good ones and there are bad ones. 20 years ago, we took the bad ones out and we separated them from the good ones.
Can I ask you to turn on your do you have like an overhead light or maybe a car light we can pop on? It's just a little dark.
It's on.
Oh, it is? Oh, wow. Okay. That's all right. But I do want to ask you, you brought up the other candidates. You're going up against quite a bit of people. There's what, 11 individuals, including yourself, who are running for governor. What sets you apart from those other candidates?
Yeah, that's right. It's I'm glad you brought that up. I am not running against any other candidate. I am running for Texas. And I'm not going to speak ill of any of my candidates. I want to see a positive campaign. So if Texas picks one of them, Texas wins, I win. I bless them. I'm so excited for what's going on because a lot of people are passionate about this race. I'm really excited. I just found out February 16th is going to be our first debate. It's in one of the county Republican party's headquarters, and I'm going to put out more details about that on my Twitter page, but I'm super excited about that. So yeah, the field is dense and it's fun, and I'm really looking forward to that debate. And I would love for there to be more than one debate because, let's be honest, for the last 30 years, Texas has been red. It's been Republican for 3 decades. And whoever wins this primary is probably going to go on to win the one seat in the one mansion. So this is it. March 3rd is it.
You brought up your time in service, which I want to thank you for your service. You're a former Navy SEAL. You served in Iraq. You mentioned that moments ago. How did that experience shape you? I know you talked on the about a little bit about that moments ago, but what did it teach you as a leader for Texas?
I love that question, Hannah. It taught me a lot about leadership. One of It is about 1/3 of my leadership training in my life. I also have a successful business career, and I also have a successful relationship with God. And there's leadership aspects in all three of those areas that you can apply to life. A lot of times in the military, you learn some leadership skills that will not work well for you in the private sector business world. And a lot of things in the private sector business world are not good to do if you want to be a man of God. So I wrote a book called A Leader After God's Own Heart. And it gives you 31 good leadership principles in all three of those areas. If a good leadership principle in the military doesn't work in the private sector, it's not a good leadership principle. And as governor, my job is to steer the ship. I don't really need to know the nuts and bolts of the bureaucracy or how the diesel engine works or how the rudder works or how the propeller works. I need to steer the ship. And right now, I believe Texas is having an identity culture. We are no different in Texas than a teenager questioning their gender. Texas needs to know who we are. And I'm going to stand up and say Texas is a Christian state in a Christian nation. That is who we are. And someone needs to say that. And I believe I'm the only candidate that can and will talk about our culture. Who are we? What is our legacy? What is our bloodline heritage in this piece of dirt we call Texas? I believe we need to identify our culture. And if I look at Texas, that's the problem I see. Everything else, that's the 40,000-foot view. You can get down into the nuts and the bolts. I'm an outsider. And so a lot of people will say, well, how are you going to get in there and fix it? Well, you can't be a part of the bureaucratic engine and fix a bureaucratic engine, because if that's what you know, that's what you know. I'm going to come in and I'm going to bulldoze a lot of the programs the Texas government has right now. One of them is education. We're going to bulldoze the education department, and we're going to forget talking about the money and where the money goes. We're going to talk about the content. And how do we grow a healthy young kid to be a healthy adult with a strong spirit and a strong mind and a strong will and sovereign and strong and smart? Those things that aren't being taught in school, it's my personal belief that the schools are dumbing people down. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to bulldoze the current tax system. Texans are over the property tax, and we're going to get rid of all the county tax offices in the state of Texas. And when we do that, we are going to instantly get rid of $1 billion annually being spent on employees, lights, and heaters in those buildings. Texas is going to get a $1 billion raise instantly when we do that. And I'm going to shift to a sales tax on non-essential items. And that's just getting started. We are just getting started. The current system as is, I don't believe Texas is leading the way, but we will be the best state in the union. And I will not pass on any other problems to the next administration. It'll be a problem-solving administration. No more problems about education or taxes or Islam or anything else is going to be passed on to the next administration.
I know you brought up a few of your pinpoints for your platform. I want to circle back and kind of expand on a few of them. You mentioned sales tax on non-essential goods. Can you explain how that would work?
So think about it this way. When you purchase something, do they ask you your home address? Do they ask you what vehicle you drive? No. It's a transaction, and the state will get a sliver of that. What that percentage is, I don't know, and I'm fine saying I don't know. We're going to figure that out. But it's a certain percentage, and it's far less intrusive. To me, property taxes is a bigger problem when it comes to an intrusion on privacy than it is on collecting money. And I wish all of your viewers could see my messages, my DM inboxes, people contacting me and saying that they lost the family property. They lost the family farm because of property taxes. So anyone who wants to tell me that a sales tax on non-essential items isn't going to work, it's going to hurt businesses, doesn't see my DMs, because it is more fair in the long run. And people are going to use all the money they save from property taxes and spend it on sales tax. And if they don't want to spend it, they don't have to do it. And they don't have to get in their cars and drive down the road and tell the government what they own, where they own it, how much they own. It's an intrusion on privacy, and that is not the culture, heritage, legacy of Texans. Texans aren't people that like to be surveilled or micromanaged. That's not who we are. See, we have an identity crisis. We need to know who we are. We're not a people that, we are a free people here. And we're going to restore that by getting rid of all 254 tax offices in Texas.
I want to go back to another one of your parts of your platform. You say that under your leadership, government confiscation of property will end. What specifically are you referring to?
I'm referring to someone's property taxes that go up, and they're on a fixed income, disability, Social Security, whatever the scenario is. Maybe they're having hard times in their businesses and can't keep up. And then there's the reposition or foreclosure. Specifically, it's rampant. It's a problem. It's a problem if it happens with one person. It's not a fair system.
You also mentioned quite a bit about education. You also want to implement a daily physical fitness program at the start of each school day. What inspired that policy?
Yeah, there was a study done in the 80s when they took two groups of kids, and there was hundreds of kids. It's not a small sample of kids. You can look this up. It's in a book called Spark. One group of kids worked out for 30 minutes in the morning, 3 times a week. The other group of kids did work out for 30 minutes, 3 times a week, but after school. And the kids it's astonishing, the data, and the data's in what happened. The kids that worked out in the morning, their IQs went up 15 points. Their test scores were an average of 12 to 15 points higher than the kids who worked out in the afternoons. And the reason is because they were able to sit and focus on the material, especially the boys who are asked to sit in school during the day. And so that focusing allowed them to absorb and learn and be less fidgety. I mean, me, when I miss my workout in the day, I'm feeling a little bit of grumpy. I don't know if you're a fitness person, but anyone who works out gets those endorphins and knows what it's like when you miss your workout. And just imagine these kids who are eating high caloric food and living a more sedentary lifestyle. It's not good for the brain at all. And that is the first stone we're going to flip over when it comes to bulldozing the current education system. On top of that, we're going to create something called the Great Texas Fitness Challenge. As governor, every year, I'll be bringing winners from all over Texas from ages 10 and up, 10 to 100 years old, of 10 different fitness categories: push-ups, high jump, pull-ups, long jump, high jump. All these different things. We're going to celebrate fitness in Texas. Me personally, I'm an athlete. I'm in good shape. I could probably run a sub 6-minute mile right now. I can bench press a lot. I've always been fit, always have worked out. I think I will be the fittest governor in the history of America. But we're going to make fitness a big part in Texas, because healthy people are take less medications. They have less disease. They're more useful in general, and they are harder to kill. It's across the board, all ships rise. We're going to make fitness a big deal here in Texas.
I want to circle back to Governor Greg Abbott because he is running for re-election. Now, he's been in office since 2015. What are your impressions of the job that he's been doing for the past 11 years now that has caused voters to re-elect him?
He's a really good headline governor. He says things that read good in the news for his Republican base, but are left unfulfilled. He has said he's going to take away property taxes. In fact, the Texas legislature has had a trifecta of three branches of government for the last 30 years, and every year they promise to get rid of property taxes. That one issue alone proves that he's probably not going to keep his word. He just said that he was going to limit the property tax increase to 3% a year. And his followers celebrate that. But what he's told you is your property taxes will go up. That's what that means. You limit the increase. Greg Abbott has a lot of very wealthy Muslim donors. And you side that next to side by side when you see that he outlaws Sharia law, but doesn't make it into law. He says he's going to, but he doesn't make it into law. And then he has Muslim donors to his campaign. I think Greg Abbott will retire, and I think he'll be safe, and I think he'll be taken care of. But those minority communities will still be in Texas, changing our culture years later when he leaves. I hope the voters can see for themselves. I mean, I know a lot of voters, they have lives, they have kids, they're going to and fro. But we got 7 weeks. It's crunch time. Whoever wins this primary is probably going to go on to take Texas. And it's crunch time to know who you're voting for and why.
You mentioned that you're on the road right now. What's your next destination, and what's the goal for this this tour that you're on right now? To the big message that you're trying to get to voters right now.
Well, there's a lot of meet and greets at local county county town halls. So we're going around. We give a little bit of a opening statement and a Q&A. So I might bounce around. If you go to your local Republican meet and greet, I'll probably be there. I'm trying to make them all, but we are also pushing Twitter. Not Twitter, TikTok. If you follow me on TikTok, Charles in Charge 93 on TikTok, that's where you're going to get the day-to-day with me. I put out a morning meditation of the scripture I read in that morning. I posted a video about my workout that day because healthy Texans are more useful and harder to kill. And, both those things, God and fitness, are going to be a big part of my administration. And Hannah, let me ask you a question. Do you think that the state of Texas is ready to elect an outright Christian pastoral governor?
I don't know if it's for me to say. I think it's for Texas to vote and whether or not they are ready. But I do appreciate you asking my opinion. But I do want to leave us, before we wrap things up here, what is something that you want us to leave with tonight? What is something that we haven't touched base on that you want voters to know tonight about you and what makes you different than the rest?
I come with solutions, and after my administration, I would hope to change the tide of Texas to be less Democrat against Republican and more the content of issue by issue. When it comes to the subject of abortion, I think we all agree on it. We're actually just told to go to our sides and stop listening to the other side. But I want to produce the Love a Mother program, where we help girls through the hardest times in their life. The Republican Party has to be more than just pro-choice or pro-life. They have to actually help these moms going through a really tough time. We're going to get rid of taxes. We're going to get rid of education. We're going to put God first. One thing I'm going to do, Hannah, is put praise and worship 24/7 in the Texas Capitol. This is a Christian state, and we're going to worship God. And all through the Bible, the power of worship makes it so the devil can't advance his plans. We're going to get rid of Islam and all the other minority communities in Texas by going after the fraud with a Doge-like microscope going through the budget. And when you get rid of the fraud, it stops enabling and growing these other problems. But I will be a God-first pastoral governor And so when people see me, hear my name, that's what I want them to think about.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You're on the road in the middle of the night on Texas roads. We appreciate you joining us, giving us a little bit about what it is that you stand for and what we can expect from an administration were you to be elected. We appreciate the heads up, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, again, everybody, if you're tuning in, if you joined us through a push notification on your phone, don't forget that you can always download East Texas Now on your